Okay, so I lied. I looked at this and I said, I don't really like this play pause button here, and since these controls don't really work, they're just here because they look nice, let's actually make this look nice. So when we click on it, we know for sure that it's going from a playing to a paused state. And since we are already giving it a class of playing or pause, we should be able to change this here from playing or pause. We could just say status, right? And that would work. Playing, paused, but that doesn't look great. We already have that there, so let's make it a little nicer. So we're going to do a few little interesting CSS tricks here. Again, don't worry if this is over your head in terms of the CSS world. It's just some fun CSS that makes things look nice. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a margin of 30 pixels on the left and right, so it spreads out a little bit. That already looks better. And then I'm going to style the span inside of it. And we'll make sure it displays block, and we'll give it a box sizing of border box so that the specified height and width determine the border box the element instead of the padding. And then we'll give it a width of 0. Now this might look weird at first, but don't worry, I'll explain why in a second. I'm then setting the height. Let's give it a height of 75 pixels. And let's give it a border color of, I'm going to give it 4 borders. Transparent and transparent. And you can see I'm giving it a couple of these. Transparent, so 3 transparent borders and then a white border. And let's give it a cursor of pointer so that it works like a button. And let's say the border style is double, so that it has 2 parallel solid lines with some space between them. And then I'm going to do something magical. I'm going to say border width is 0, 0, 0, 60 pixels. Now, the magic is in these 3 lines here, except for the cursor. This is where most of the magic is happening, but when I save this, check it out. We now have these 2 double lines here. Pretty cool, right? And so this looks like a pause button. However, when I click this, I want it to change to something else. So let's give it a transition of 100 milliseconds, and we'll ease it. And then we'll also say, hey, play paused, span, and let's say when it's paused, I want it to show an arrow. So let's say border style is solid. Let's change the border style from double to solid. And then let's give it a border width of 37 pixels, 0, 37 pixels, 60 pixels. And let's save it. And then let's click it again. Uh-oh, did I mess that up? Let's see. I think I messed it. Span. Oh, pay pause. Paused. Right? Is that right? Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, cool. Very cool. So now this looks fancy. And really this is just some border color, border width CSS tricks. Because there's transparent borders, it looks like an arrow, and then it transforms into a pause sign. And I'm actually going to get rid of that little status in here. I'm just going to leave it as an empty span and let the CSS do the work for us. Oh, that's so cool. That looks great. So now we have a button. Whenever you click on it, it changes its status, and that status changes the class name of the span. And because the class name is changing from paused to playing, it will toggle back and forth between a span with a class name of paused and a span without a class name of paused. And you could be more explicit here, and you could say playing, something like that. But I'm going to say I want all the spans, not just the one with playing, to look like that. And so that's really cool. And so this is another cool way to use state, is to change the class name of your components. So I'm using the state here, the status state, to determine what the class name of the span is. And so then every time I click on it, it toggles between the paused and playing state, and then I give it a different class name, and it renders differently on the screen, and it looks really cool. So this is another benefit to using state. And so with that out of the way, now we can actually start looking at more complex ways to manage state. And let's do a current song. Like, we want to know what song is playing when I click play. And so that's what we'll handle next.